welcome to the Pipeline and People podcast powered by Versorix, the show where boutique firm leaders trade less admin for more advisory. Each week, we share actionable tactics to keep your client pipeline full and your team performing at its best. I'm your host, Jaden Parisi. Let's dive in. Today's guest is Ted McLyman. Is it McLyman?
Yep, that's correct.
Ted McLyman, co-founder and vice president of DreamSmart Behavioral Solutions, an organization helping leaders understand the link between behavior, money, relationships, and performance. Ted, could you kick us off with a quick look at your background and, what led to the creation of DreamSmart?
Well, I grew up in snow country. You're in Canada, you understand that, around Syracuse, New York, graduated from Colgate University, and my mission in life was to find sunshine at graduation. And I took a commission in the Marine Corps, and they had the foresight to send me to Hawaii, where I was introduced to sunscreen, sunglasses, and primary colors, which was a relevant. But I had no intention of staying in the Marine Corps beyond the initial requirement, but I had a lot of opportunities. They sent me to graduate school a couple times, taught economics at the Naval Academy, ended up as an aide to the Secretary of the Navy for financial management. So to bring this all together, what I found is I've worked with people and money my entire life. And what I discovered through that initial journey was we don't do it very well. And that money and having problems with money is endemic to people. It appears we're just not hardwired to do it well. And that got me interested. And upon delving into money and money behavior, when I retired from the Marine Corps, I became a financial advisor, an independent registered RIA. And I got very disenchanted with the traditional approach to money behavior, budgeting, and the like. Now, that was my background. I was classically trained, and believe it or not, I actually believed what I was taught, that we're rational with our money. I mean, I know up in Canada that may not be a problem, but here down in the United States, we don't seem to be that rational in making spending decisions. Well, I worked for two large companies, did very well as a selling agent, and then went to the dark side, went into management, became a district manager, and then I really became disenchanted with the whole money thing, the behavior thing. And what I was finding is because in our cultures, we don't address money. We just assume that you reach a certain age and you get it. You're going to figure it out. The problem is once you figure it out, it's often too late, or the information you're given is not appropriate for you the way you're naturally wired with money. And that got me interested, because I discovered that my job as a financial advisor was not to manage money. That's easy. It was to manage behavior. And I stepped out on my own, started my own firm, wrote my first book about 2010 called Money Makes Me Crazy, primarily for my clients. And that led to 3 other books on the subject of people and money. During that time, met a man on LinkedIn by the name of Jeff Morris, and he and I were kindred spirits, just joined at the hip, looking at the same problems. And that became the genesis for DreamSmart Behavioral Solutions. Sold my financial planning firm, went all in with DreamSmart. And we're taking a very different look at outcomes through human behavior. Most cases, we have 2 different channels. One is the behavioral piece. And it's ironic that we accept behavior in everything else we do in our lives. It's a behavioral focus on this: diet, exercise, career. But money, no, we don't. We just say, hey, let's put you in a different box, a different silo. And money all of a sudden is not emotional. It's not a behavioral issue. And I reject that premise. And that's what I've been working on as the vice president of DreamSmart. We have basically 2 approaches. We start with what we call natural behavior. Natural behavior just is the premise that you are who you are. You're always going to be who you are. And as much as we try, we're not going to change that much. About 90 to 95% of your behavior is hardwired to you. The other 5, maybe as much as 10%, is learned behavior through experience, education, and just life. But fundamentally, particularly under stress, you're going to fall back to who you are. Well, we had a revelation. Why don't we put that same concept to money? So that's what I've got into, and I call it money temperament. Money temperament is basically your natural money behavior. It's who you are. And the premise is very simple. It's humans have eons of experience staying alive in the forest. Our brains are immensely skilled at doing that. Unfortunately, our 200 to 300,000 year old brain behavior that kept us alive when probably a former hockey player, walked into a cave with a stick and started poking at the bear and didn't walk back out. And we said, that might be a problem. We might have to change that behavior. And we learned. And over that period of time, we got very good. And right now, 95% of our brain activity is non-conscious, automatic, and driving to keep us alive and pass on our genes. Money's only been around for about 2 or 3,000 years. Today's economy is moving at warp speed. We should be surprised when people get money right, not when they get it wrong. And that's what I write about. That's what I talk about. And that's a mission I'm on right now, to get people to understand that success with money is managing behavior, not money. And that's counter to the common wisdom about how you make it happen. And the new book I've got coming out in about a month or two, which is called Confessions of a Reformed Financial Advisor. Yep, it's mostly BS. And I basically take it apart and I say, probably most of what you've learned about money may be technically correct, but not suited to you, just because of the way you're wired, the way you think and feel. And that's what I'm doing. So that's probably a long-winded introduction of who I am and what I'm doing, but I'm passionate about this. And we're on a mission, regardless of who you're from, where you're from, or what you're doing, to understand that there are dynamics in this modern economy that are conspiring against you daily every time you spend money. And you need to be aware of that.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, great context. I did a little bit of research and was looking at your website and saw the behavioral superpowers. I actually, for my old firm, I did the predictive index test. I'm not
Good.
sure if you're familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tested as an adapter, which I also
Okay.
see on your website. What would what would someone like me learn from your model that PI might miss?
And for those who don't know what we're talking about, the profiles we're talking about are a little bit more scientific and a little different than, let's go back to the granddaddy of them all, Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
If you've taken Myers-Briggs, you go to a conference, everybody is profiled, and you walk around for a week with a name tag on and says, I'm an ENTJ, I'm this, that, and the other thing. And we wear that label, but it does nothing to really identify the core behavior, the communication skills, the leadership skills, or what makes you work. So it's very situational. What we're talking about with adaptive behavior, it's your core essence, it's who you are. What I was trained as a financial advisor is, Jaden, if I'm working with you, it's really a sales call. It's not really, you're secondary to the process, to be very honest. And all I'm trying to do is get you to make a decision and figure to spend some money. So if I know you're an adapter, that you are the type of person that is comfortable moving in different environments, that I should be focused on providing you information that you're going to take in based on your natural behavior, not mine. Okay. I'm an initiator. I'm just the opposite. I'm a go-getter. I'm go, 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 go. And where I've got to be very careful if I'm working for you, that I'm already moving ahead of you. And I look around and I'm going, where'd Jared go? Where you're back there shaking hands, talking to people, having a great time. At some point, we both want to go the same direction, but we have different perspectives on how to make it happen. So from a money perspective, we found this is incredibly important, that let's just talk about risk. Risk is a touchstone of modern financial planning. Are you risk adverse? Are you a risk taker? And that's basically all they tell you. Well, what they're really doing is identifying themselves. It's a legal document that say that if I put you into Lithuanian oil shale and you said that's okay, you can't sue me. But when it goes south, your real behavior is going to come forward. We just went through it for the last couple of months when the world was going to come to an end because of tariffs and this, that, and the other thing. And, 9 times out of 10, that stuff is never going to be as bad as they think. And it may never happen. But the point being is you saw people come out of the woodwork and you saw their true behavior with regard to risk. All we're saying is you should know it before you get started. So if I'm going to talk with you, I go in with the assumption, number one, I accept that you're human and you're going to do human things with money. Always. That's your default.
Okay.
That your job is to pass on your genes, to keep yourself alive and do things that make you feel good. I also know that you've got you've got a chemical in your brain called dopamine that anticipates your actions and gets you excited about buying that new car. But we know that's temporal because it's the journey, not the outcome. And this is really important with stocks and day trading. It's the journey, not the outcome. I also know that you've got what are called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons simply mean that in a crowd, you're going to mimic what's going around you. And what happens is happens in nanoseconds, and it's incredibly dangerous. But the marketing folks have figured this out, that when you walk into a store, it's designed to take advantage of your natural human behavior. Now, I'm a risk taker by nature. I have like out of a score from 0 to 100, 0 being no risk, 100 being risk, I'm a 98, 99. That means I'm the kind of person that I'm chasing shiny stuff. And I like the journey. I like crypto's a good example. I'm mesmerized by that, but it scares people to death, and it should. Now, somebody on the opposite end from me who is very risk adverse has no business even being near this stuff.
Yep.
But we don't talk about that. So what I'm saying is your biology is a huge component of how you deal with money, how you spend money, how you take in information, you process information. The next piece is your belief set and your culture. Culture is probably the biggest driver of spending of anything you deal with, and it's 24/7. Now, if you were living on a subsistence farm someplace out west in Saskatchewan or something like that, not much of an issue. But if you're in Montreal or Toronto, which is an international cosmopolitan, it's a whole different game.
Yeah.
So you've got to understand that culture and the pressure to buy and that we have trouble fighting that because we're herding animals by instinct and we want to be part of the crowd. And we're not only part of the crowd, we want part of the cool crowd, not only the cool crowd, but the very cool crowd. Wasn't a problem a few years ago, but now with social media and the like, it's pervasive. Then the last part is technology. Technology is a game changer. I make the comment that my grandfather signed legal documents, money documents with 3-part carbon paper. Some of your listeners probably don't even know what that is. My dad used pressure sensitive forms. I do everything digital. I don't carry money. I don't carry cash. I don't need it. I can buy stuff on my watch, which can be dangerous, but
yeah.
I can. So technology, your culture, and your humanity conspire against you when you're making decisions about money. And most likely the people around you are wired differently than you are. So it becomes a natural problem. So and my natural instinct is to believe everybody is just like me. Everybody thinks and feels and behaves the same way I do non-consciously. The reality is they don't. Probably 2/3 of the people in a room I in are wired completely different than me. That's important. So a few years ago, I developed a model, which I call the money behavior system, that I think helps you benchmark who you are, what's important, and how to make very consequential money decisions. And it's simple. It's common sense. But sometimes we don't talk common sense enough in this area. Number one
Not
is
so
it comes
common.
down to, it comes down your values. Values are what are most important to you that drive you forward. Values drive your beliefs. Values are the big rocks. Your beliefs are the little ones. So if you value freedom, maybe, and you value education because you believe that's going to drive you towards economic freedom, that's a value. If you don't value education and you go in a different direction, that is how you're wired. The point being is you have to codify your core values with money. And I just keep it, what's important about money to you? Why? And it's not tangible things usually. It's usually bigger than that. It's usually legacy, taking care of family, self-actualization, things like that. It's not a bigger car, better car. Goals and values are different. Your values drive you to your goals. Your goals may or may not support your values. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So once you understand your values, then your money temperament. It's just how you naturally wired. How you naturally wired with money. Are you a risk taker? You're risk avoidance. You a spender? You're saver. I don't care, but you need to know. Then what's your money knowledge? Money knowledge is more than technical knowledge. It's how do you process information? Are you a auditory learner, a visual learner, tactile person that you got to touch it? Because the way you input and process information is going to be very critical to the types of decisions you take. Fortunately or unfortunately, the money industry is driven by numbers. If you're not a numbers person, when you get to that point when you're signing the paperwork, if you've ever bought a car or a house, the sales process is all emotional and it touches your hearing. You get to drive it, you get to feel it, and you're immersed in it. But when you get to the legal documents, it's pretty cut and dry. And if you're not a numbers person and the data is not presented to you in a way you process information or your dominant style, it's going to cause problems. So I'm telling people at this point, you've got to know your learning style, your money learning style, and then demand in an important spending decision that the information is given to you a way you process it best. It might be visual, graphs, pictures, colors. It might be auditory. Explain it to me. I want to hear it. It might be tactical. So I want to walk through the maintenance room. I want to see what the place looks like. I want to feel the document. Okay. So now, and these three things are not addressed in the traditional or conventional financial planning directive. They cut right into, hey, you're here. What can we do today? And let's get you started. So once you understand your values are driven by your temperament. Your temperament ensures that you're getting information in a way you can assimilate it. Then you need a strategy. Your money strategy is nothing your big picture view of where you're going to get there from point A to point B. And without getting too deep, the way to figure that out is take a look at your calendar, take a look at your bank statement. Calendar is where you put most of your time. Bank statement is where you put most of your money. The question I ask you is, the way you're behaving, is it aligning with your values? In other words, I know people that play a lot of golf and eat out a lot. That's fine. But they say they value a comfortable retirement and being able to give back to their university. I say, okay, based on what you're doing right now, you can have one or the other. I can show you how to eat out a lot. I can show you how to play golf. But you're probably not going to have the other. So the key point with your strategy is make sure that where you're going is aligned with your values. What's most important about money to you? Then the last part is your money plan is putting it into action, which ironically is the starting point for traditional or conventional financial planning. And literacy. We start right there. Tell me your goals. Well, if you told me your goals right now, Jared, where you want to be in 4 or 5 years, and you said, I want a new car, you tell me the car, I can factor in inflation, you give me enough time, enough money, and a reasonable rate of return, I can get you there. The question is, does it really support your values? Because the opportunity cost means the money that goes here is money that's not going someplace else. So our mission right now is to make people understand that money values, money temperament, and money knowledge are the linchpins of success with money, which is not being discussed anywhere else but with us. And all we're trying to do is arm the average consumer with enough information about themselves so when they go in a situation, their antenna are up and they go, hey, this is a sales situation. I know I'm susceptible to the flashy lights and the smells and all that kind of stuff. I need to do something to prevent me from spending a lot of money at the Toronto Underground when it's cold and I don't want to go on up top. Okay. So I'm going to maybe carry cash if you still have it, lock up your credit cards. If it's a major purchase, make it difficult to spend, easy to shop, if that makes sense. So that's what we're trying to do. And it's counterintuitive if you come through the classical financial training and financial literacy training that's being pumped out in every culture I've dealt with around the world. But you're always going to revert to what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it makes sense. So kind of getting into today's topic a little bit, which is, about wearing hats and overextending yourself and actually running your company. Where do you see overextension show up behaviorally?
That's easy. That's an easy one. I'm an initiator. I'm overconfident. I'm driven. I am wired that it always happens to the other person, the bad stuff. Overconfidence can be a real asset, but it's a double-edged sword. In my case, overconfidence means I can very easily move so fast that I miss details, that I don't see the things a lot of other people see that I probably should see. And I learned this very early in my career, and this is how I compensated for it. I built a team around me with personality profiles, natural behavior that is opposite to me. So we complement each other. And if we all have the same vision and same values moving towards the same outcome, we come together and through discussion, compromise, and very honest discussion, we see different points of view. And a lot of people, I mean, I have the ability when I get going on some projects to scare people to death, like the accountants who are wired 180 out for me. But I also realize that they're smart people. They will keep me out of jail. They'll do things I shouldn't do, that I have to shut my mouth and be deferential to them because their point of view is relevant. On the other hand, I know that if they're holding back too much, we're never going to move forward. So it's a balancing act. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And it's good to see that you rely on your team in that sense where you get the opposite people. Because some of the people I've talked to have said like they can't, they
We,
want to do everything themselves.
yeah, and that's a mission to death. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to hit a wall at some point and you're never going to grow any farther.
Yeah.
I got so into this that actually I hired an assistant that was with me for over 20 years who was just out 180 out for me. And literally she kept me out of jail. And even to the point where we were in the same office because we could hear each other and we bounce things off. And people come in all the time and said, "You're the CEO of this company and you got your assistant in there." Yeah, there's a reason for that. Because I can just turn around and say, "You take care of this. This is a detail, and I know I'm going to screw it up." And she would go, "Yeah, you will. Give me that." And it comes back and it's all tied up and looks nicely and it's perfect. And she just can go, "Don't worry about it. It's done." But we had that type of professional relationship because we worked very diligently to understand our strengths and our weaknesses and build a team that complements our strengths, compensates for our weaknesses. And when you bring two or three people like that, it's magic. And the companies
Absolutely.
I saw that were failing, everybody's just like me. Well, you're all going to go down the rabbit hole together.
Yeah. Okay, well, it looks like we got a few minutes left here, so I'm just gonna ask you one final question. What's the best piece of advice that you've been given?
Best piece of advice I've been given. That's excellent. First, have an open mind. You can learn something from everybody. Take the time to look around, and before you jump in with both feet and criticize or comment or whatever, count to 10, have an open mind. Have a sense of humor. Don't take yourself too seriously. Sometimes it's okay to look around and say, "Yeah, I am a jerk," or "This didn't go the way I needed to." That also means know your people, enjoy life. There's more to what is out there than sometimes you're doing 24/7 in your office, and then treat everybody with dignity. Everybody with dignity. Everybody has something to contribute. Then finally, get the job done, take care of your people, and leaders eat last.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, Ted, this episode was packed with insights. Thank you so much for joining. Where can listeners connect with you or learn more about DreamSmart?
Send them to tedmclyman.com. It's just my name, TEDMCLYMAN.com. That's kind of the hub. And we go from there. But we've got a lot of good stuff going on in the next year and a half. I got another book coming out. This will be my fourth. But we just want to help you be better people and get where you want to go with the least amount of pain.
That's great. All right. Thank you. Until next time, I'm Jaden Parisi. This is the Pipeline of People podcast.